A reported new low for WWE on Netflix, a shock AEW to WWE defection, my review of last night's NXT, and more. I'm Luke Owen, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
On yesterday's WrestleTalk podcast, Ollie and I talked about the online reaction to R-Truth's contract not being renewed by WWE, ending his 17-year run with the company. Over the last couple of days, we've heard chants for truth at WWE shows, including last night's NXT, as well as Booker T saying that he thinks his day will eventually come, and speculation abound about The Miz after he removed references to WWE on his Twitter profile. Ollie referred to the online reaction as the match to the kindling that has been made up by several bits of negativity towards WWE and TKO, like higher ticket prices along with boasts of all-time gate records, more ads than matches during Saturday night's main event, the constant sponsorships, a pretty bang average on-screen product right now, and several other things. In isolation, these negative ones are things you can overlook, but combined together, they can create a lot of negative sentiments. In short, and I'm judging a lot of this by your comments on these WrestleTalk news videos, the online vibe and feeling towards WWE isn't a positive one right now. And that could be reflected in the ratings, as Netflix's own Tudum has revealed the 26th of May edition of Raw, which saw Seth Rollins and Penta qualify for Money in the Bank and New Day's tag title defense, draw the lowest rating of the Netflix era. Tudum says that Raw had 4.8 million hours watched across 2.6 million devices globally, which is down from the previous week, itself a low. Smarter people than I have broken down this number with an estimate, and bear in mind, these are only estimates, that number translates to 1.1 million viewers in the US across 7 days and around 937,000 on the same day. If correct, that would be a drop of around 44% from their time on USA Network this time last year, as well as being an all-time low for Raw on Netflix. It ranked 4th in the US, 9th in the UK and India, 5th in Canada, and did not crack the top 10 in Saudi Arabia, New Zealand, and Australia. However, to be very clear, these are only estimates. But even by Netflix's own metrics, it is the least watched episode of the Netflix era. But again, to be fair, we are in the post-Mania season and ratings are always going to go down a bit. This happens every year. Not only that, but Raw went up against the NBA, NHL, and the American Music Awards. According to Programming Insider, ESPN's coverage of Oklahoma City vs. Minnesota got around 6 million viewers, and it was also Memorial Day in the US. According to the Wrestling Observer, early indications of the ratings for this week's episode are up from the previous week, which is a positive sign. But that's enough nonsense ratings chat. Let's talk about last night's NXT, which saw a pretty massive debut. During JC Jane's title celebration, she was interrupted by about 30 women all wanting a shot at her title. And while they brawled, the lights went out, and former AEW Women's Champion Mariah May appeared on the balcony stage to declare that NXT has become a lot more glamorous. This comes just days after May's profile was removed from the AEW roster page amidst reports and speculation that a contract had come to an end. Fightful Select report that this debut was kept very secret backstage to prevent it from getting leaked, and the talent involved in the segment only found out that May was debuting moments before they went out to do the segment. They add that only a few key people knew that she was coming into WWE for sure, and the recent moves of Roxanne Perez, Julia, and Stephanie Vaquer to SmackDown and Raw were done as the plan for a while has been for Mariah May to head to NXT. When those names were moved from NXT to the main roster, Fightful Select report that several talent in WWE did expect Mariah May to be coming in soon. As for her time with AEW, Fightful Select write, we've heard that AEW was interested in retaining her, but have not heard yet what the offers look like. Those we spoke to in AEW didn't seem to think that she departed on bad terms. However, there were those in AEW that were expecting her to leave for WWE, as she's been reportedly spending the last few months preparing for a post-AEW life. Her AEW deal reportedly ended at the start of June, and she debuted in WWE just days later. Interestingly, commentary did not mention Mariah May by name. Corey Graves just noted how pretty and glamorous she was. Fightful Select report that they've not heard if WWE are planning on changing her name like they did with Brian Pillman Jr. or Ricky Starks, but not Ethan Page, Penta, Ray Phoenix, or Shawn Spears. What are the rules, as Mariah is her shoot name and May is her middle name? They write she's able to use the Mariah May name if both sides choose to, as she has for years. Mariah May had a hell of a run in AEW. She debuted aligning with the top women's star in the company, won the Owen Hart tournament, won the women's title at their biggest show of the year, had one of the best women's matches in AEW history that should have closed out the pay-per-view, and then immediately bounced to WWE. She'd only signed a 2-year deal with AEW, but Fightful Select report she has signed a multi-year deal with WWE. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez had previously noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that Mariah May's goal was always to end up in WWE. So what do you make of the move to WWE? Let me know in the comments down below. But it's Wednesday, you know what that means. It's time for my review of NXT in about 5 minutes. The show kicked off with Javon Evans and Laredo Kid already in the ring for a North American Championship Summit. Ethan Page came out and noted that Rey Fenix, who is part of the Fatal 4-Way at Worlds Collide, was not there tonight, and said that whoever wins will face Sean Legacy from Evolve next week on NXT for the title. This brought out Legacy, Sean that is, not Randy Orton's old group, who said that not only will he become the North American champion, he has the chance to become the Evolve champion on tonight's show. The Vanity Project came out and everyone brawled, which set up an 8-man tag for later in the show with the good guys tagging with Dragon Lee. They showed Vikingo in the crowd, who I presume was not part of the "We Want Truth" chants during the match between Chase U and Darkstate, which saw the baddies win with the toss powerbomb. Commentary noted that perhaps Darkstate's motives run deeper than anyone knows. Whatever that means. Charles Dempsey took on Miles Bourne in a rounds match where if Bourne won, he could leave no quarter catch crew. They had a superb match with Bourne getting the better of Dempsey in the first round both mentally and physically, managing to get a pinfall before the buzzer. We didn't see much of the second round as it took place mostly in the commercial break, with only 22 seconds of it getting actual TV time. But after the tie, Dempsey kicked Bourne low, which allowed him to dominate the third round and hit a regalplex to tie it up 1-1. Bourne made a comeback during the fourth round and scored a pinfall off a dropkick to win the match and his freedom. The student has beaten the master, and Bourne is now free from no quarter catch crew. Dempsey refused to shake his hand after the match, so this drama will likely continue. It was a really great match and one that you should check out if you get the chance. The Culling culled one of their members as Izzy Dame twatted Brooks Jensen with a chair and told Sean Spears that he should lead the group, and Sean Spears agreed. The women's winner of LFG then had her debut match as Tyra May Steele took on Ariana Grace. There was so much gold on display between the medals and the outfit, I think I heard Gold member have an orgasm. Steele won with the best move in wrestling, the deadlift German suplex, so I wasn't far behind Gold member. We got a video of the reactions to JC Jane winning the NXT Women's Championship last week, which means we got to see Santi in Wrestling Days on NXT. Let's go, Santi! Wrestling is cool. I'm glad we had the Mariah May debut in the next segment, as I wasn't a fan of it otherwise. Fatal Influence came out to brag about JC Jane winning the title last week and cement that things are fine between JC Jane and Fallon Henley. Sure, Jan. Then came out the Interrupt Train. Our first stop was Lainey Reed to say that Jane proved anything can happen in this division, who then was joined by Lola Vice to get her shot. Jordan Grace came out to repeat what Reed had already just said. Jada Parker came out, then so did Kalani Jordan, and finally Lash Legend, who didn't get an entrance like the others. They all brawled, and we got the Mariah May debut one take. And if that wasn't enough, they showed the rest of the women's locker room also watching backstage. Legit, I did do that in one take. I'm very proud of myself. While I'm not a big fan of the Interrupt Train template, while Julia Vaca and that one up though.
You cursed yourself.
Cursed myself, I got too confident. While I'm not a fan of the Interrupt Train template, with Julia Vaca and Perez leaving NXT, the women's division did need sort of a new chapter moment, and having Reed, Vice, Grace Parker, Jordan and Legend establish themselves as the new scene was a good move. Javon Evans, Laredo Kid, Sean Legacy and Dragon Lee, who was the only one to get an entrance, took on Page and Vanity Project in a fun 8-man tag that, hilariously, didn't actually promote the upcoming match at World's End. The idea of the match was to build towards Laredo Kid's first big move and introduce him to the WWE audience, but after his first one was cut off by Page, he botched his second one actual big moment, and really it was the only thing he did in the match. And then Dragon Lee, the one guy not in the Fatal 4-Way, won the match for the good guys. It was fun, but odd. They announced that Obafemi will take on Casper Troy next week. Luca Crucifino told Tony D'Angelo they've got a tag match next week against High Rise, and the main event saw Trick Williams defend the TNA Championship against Mike Santana. Santana had some fire early, but the ad break came back to show that Williams was working him over. He made a great comeback and got a really good near fall off a 450. The Trick only broke up because he got his fingertip on the ropes. They showed Elijah in the crowd, but he ended up being a bit of a red herring as Casey Navarro and AJ Francis attacked Santana to allow Williams to hit the Trick shot for the retention. The heels all left together, suggesting they have some sort of anti-TNA alliance now. Look, I'm not on the AEW drop the ball with Starks and Penta train because they did a lot of really good stuff with those guys and gave them lots of big shots at big time opportunities, but I will be on the AEW drop the ball on Mike Santana train. That dude is and always has been great. This was another really fun edition of NXT. The rounds match was really good, as was the Mariah May debut, and everything else was solid. Now go and watch yesterday's WrestleTalk podcast where Ollie and I broke down WWE Raw in full.